you doing, everyone? And it's Thursday night, it's 8 o'clock. It is time for another Braw Cast. For those that have never tuned into Braw Cast before, let me explain it. It's not just about beards, it's just about big, hairy guys. What this is a lifestyle podcast. We talk to some of the most interesting individuals we have found from all around the world. We've had MMA fighters on, we've had musicians, we've had actors, we've had pro wrestlers, we've had motorbike racers has been some of the most recent, photographers, writers, and so much. We like to bring you a little bit of individuals and get to learn a bit about them, their careers, and the journeys that they've taken in their life, where they are right now in 2021. I'm Billy Kirkwood, I expect, and this is the haircut I'm going with for this. Today, I'm very excited because it's a gentleman that I've only just realised today is actually the first time I've got to talk to him properly. I think that's right. I'm probably going to get corrected in that and be like, sound like an arsehole, and I've totally forgotten. But I'm pretty confident. I'm really excited. He has been entertaining audiences for 20 years, an award-winning comedian. I'm a big fan. I'm relishing the idea to get to talk to him about his career and what's going on with him. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Mr. Johnny Mac to Braw Cast? Hello, mate. Is this the first time we've actually got to talk face to face?
It is, mate. Yeah. And I'm a massive fan of yours as well, and kind of been following you for years. So to actually get to speak to you is awesome.
Oh, mate, that's very kind of you to say. I appreciate that. There's no accounting for taste, but I'll take that anyway. What a wild place we find ourselves in 2021, Johnny. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, the pair of us working comics on perhaps very different trajectories, but as you know, in the self-employed world of entertainment, they always keep intertwining. Where we are right now, everything's closed down. But how has this year been for you? Because we didn't get much of a warning in terms of everything closing down in the creative industries, did we? It was really a case of like, watch out in a couple of weeks. We might be closing down for a couple of months. And here we are a year later. Bloody hell. How's the year been for you, man?
It's crazy. It's been, like you say, kind of being self-employed. I lost about a year's worth of work in over 5 days.
Yeah.
I just finished. We'd literally just got in. We did a Francie and Josie tribute show.
That's right. Yeah.
And we were I think we had like 3 or 4 gigs in the week, literally before. The last gig was in the Air Gaiety, but we were just on the Monday. We were kind of like this chat of, well, things might stop, and then and then you start getting phone calls saying, oh, we're going to postpone this just now. Oh, we'll see how it goes. This might happen. And then all of a sudden everything shut down. So within 5 days, lost a year's worth of work, which I was kind of like really surprised because I was one of the idiots that went, 3 weeks. We're locked down for 3 weeks. Oh, brilliant. We'll just, me and my wife, we'll have a wee drink on a Tuesday afternoon. This is lovely. And then 3 weeks goes to 6 weeks, and then you're like, oh, right.
We didn't know. It was like we were in uncharted territory at that point, because I was the same. It was like, listen, we're probably going to have to close down the stand and the clubs. Your weekend in Birmingham. But don't worry, we'll do it in June. We'll do it in June. Everything's going to be, brilliant, guys. I can't wait to the Fringe. We're all going to be laughing about this. But it just started stretching out, and people started getting that a little bit more nervous. But people didn't understand, like, it was literally days you just watched the diary clear. And I was kind of like you as well. I was like, I had a new baby. So I was like, a couple of weekends at home aren't going to hurt me. It'd be nice to, learn the baby's full name, all that type of thing.
Find out who the mum is.
Find out who the mum is. I've got suspicions that it's the woman that lives in my house, who I'm assured is a lovely person, but I'm really going to see her. Because folk don't get it. It's like when you're a self-employed entertainer, and you are like, as well as being a fantastic comedian, I mean, obviously you're singing on stage, you're doing the Francie and Josie Show, which is this real amazing hybrid. For those that don't know, if you're watching, if you're one of our viewers in, say, New Zealand, for example, Francie and Josie is, what is the way to put it? It's an institution here in Scotland. It's a perfect merge of theatre, comedy and cabaret, kind of all comes together. And Francie and Josie were a legendary comedians playing legendary characters who themselves are comic characters. There's so many things to it. And you're bringing all these different things together. And so you're working between panto, live entertainment, the shows down at the Hippodrome as well, which are amazing. We were due to come and see you guys We were due to come and see you guys do your summer show down at the Hippodrome. We were all coming down, and
you've got to come hopefully this summer.
I hope so. I hope so. And everything closed down, but before I don't get it, you just finished Panto. You've got to keep things going. What was your initial thoughts when you saw everything kind of closing down and you saw it stretching out? You're like, this is trouble. Has anybody got an application for Sainsbury's, or what did you think? Was that a case of hold the fort?
I kind of I'll say I've just finished Francie and Josie, and then literally on the day that we locked down, I was supposed to drive down to Yarmouth to start our pirate show, which we do every Easter. And it kind of literally got to the night before, and they said, "Oh, yeah, don't come. It's not going to work. We're closing down. We're going to lockdown." So I was like, "Oh." So at that point, then you go, like yourself, kind of been away for so long, because usually in a year I'm away for maybe 6-7 months of the year, kind of down south, traveling about. And then so I got to spend some time with the woman that lives in my house. That she calls herself wife, so that's quite good as well. So I kind of got to know that person as well. I was like, oh yes, we'll get 3 weeks off. So we kind of just I kind of treated the first bit as a holiday. It was kind of like, oh, this is exciting, and oh, it's good though. But in 3 weeks' time, I'll be away and life will be back to normal. And then the phone calls coming of cancellation, and it's like, oh, right, this is going to go on for a little bit longer. But it'll definitely be by the summer. That'll be by July. I mean, because we do a kind of 14-week summer season down in Great Yarmouth. That's definitely going to happen. And then you get to July, and then it's like, well, I'm not very sure that it's going to happen. And then there was like a slight window. There was kind of hope. They said come down because I think we're going to open up, and I think it was whatever phase they were in. Boris was then going to move to the next phase where live entertainment could happen socially distanced. So I mean, the place where I work at, the Hippodrome in Great Yarmouth, have gone to all these lengths of getting these kind of rules, regulations in the theatre, making it safe for everyone. We had Brandon Lewis, the MP, come down, got the picture, stood in the ring like, hey, everything's going to be okay. Meanwhile, we were kind of rehearsing but not really known, and literally it could have been a Netflix kind of documentary, because the guy that owns the Hippodrome was like stood in the ring chatting to us at midday going, okay, last dress rehearsal with no people. We had some press. We had like 10 people from the press in. And it was like, the positive spin on it. They'll write this thing. We'll open tomorrow. Brilliant. So he gave us this kind of like rocky speech of, we're making history here, guys. We're going to be the first theatre that opens. Come on, every people have come from all over the world. We've got acts from all over Brazil, etc. And he's like, right, so let's go to the dressing room. Mic's on, costume on. Let's go for it. Literally went back to the dressing room 2 minutes later. He came in. He was like, we're not opening tomorrow.
Oh, geez.
So we paused. So we had, I think it was like another 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we managed to get open. We managed to open for 4 weeks, kind of out of what should have been 12. And it was socially distanced.
Yep.
But it was so nice. We didn't know what to expect, especially like comedy wise or kind of family comedy wise. They're coming in, they're wearing masks, they're sitting down, they're apart. Whereas you and I know that comedy works best when you're kind of bunched together and you're creating that buzz and but it went really well. And then we managed. So I got kind of 4 weeks there, and then we did a Halloween show, which was 2 weeks, and then I haven't worked since. So October was the last time since I worked.
But what an achievement to still get things up and running, because it's like you said, your man that gives the speech. We're making history. We're reinventing how live entertainment's going to go. Yeah, exactly. But the one thing I thought was amazing, and it was interesting to see the sort of shift of performers all over the place. Like you saw some people that were, hey, some people haven't lifted a mic, some people haven't put on a blob of grease paint, some people haven't even went anywhere near the stage. But there was other people that are like, this is my job, this is my passion, I love this, like yourself, that were remaining positive. And even in your social media, there was always something every other day. I know you love I follow you on TikTok every other day, just something to just kind of like we are still here. We are still in this. They just every day would make you laugh. And I think that's important, not only for us as performers, but I think it's also for the paying customers. Like, because obviously when you're in Panto or when you're down in Great Yarmouth, you've got people that come every year. You got people that come every year. They make a pilgrimage to come and see it. Did you find that it was, because we did have people going, and I know you would have had the same thing. You had people going like, are the shows happening? You know, having that little thing, or the contact you to go, are the shows happening? And you had to kind of go, we think so. How did you find that with the guys that are coming to see you every year? How did you find out with your fan base or the people that support you?
Yeah, I mean, the support's been fantastic, of people getting in touch. And kind of every other day, you would at least get a message from someone, or an email, or they kind of send kind of videos saying, I'm enjoying myself, or you know, just say, hope you're all right, and you know, we've really missed you this year. But yeah, like that, they would be in touch saying, oh, do you know what's happening? And I'm like, yeah, I don't speak to the government, I'm not sure, but I hope it's happening. Fingers crossed. You know, everything was, you know, the shows were all written and ready to go for you know, if it did, and when it did open up. But yeah, the thing about TikTok, I kind of wanted to, I was kind of saying to my wife Steph, of going, like you say, the creative gene is in you, and also as well, you feel sorry for, you know, the kind of like Joe Wicks doing PE with Joe is fantastic, because it's bringing people together. It's giving like people something to focus for. Kind of the online stand-up stuff they're doing, you know, that people kind of on Friday, Saturday night, which is brilliant as well. So I was saying to her, I was like, I don't really know what to do, you know, to still kind of entertain people. And then as chatting, it was like, oh, if I do like a couple of TikToks a week, like just like small little, you know, 30-second things. So it's just enough. So, you know, if people are having a bad day, or kind of, you know, or the kids are, you know, kind of playing up, or kind of bored, or whatever, you know, like, it's like, it doesn't have to be like a Saturday night or something. It can be like a Tuesday afternoon. There's like a little, there's a funny video for look at that. Yeah. It'll just kind of hopefully TikTok people along even.
I love it. Because the thing is as well, it's like as comedians, we have a hard time turning it off, and I don't mean that in terms of like, oh, you're walking around Asda, you know, even just, I mean, I've got a phone here and notebooks galore filled with notes, and I think it's also nice to help people know we are still here. The life and the entertainment and the enjoyment that you got is still here. Like, I remember the first lockdown, one of the hardest things, this sounds so silly, one of the hardest things that I felt was when I heard that Disneyland closed. And I remember going, geez.
I know. And
to me, Disneyland was still open somewhere. And to hear that it was closed, it was like, oh my God, it hit me. Yeah, exactly. Sounds like such a silly little thing to do. But the fact that people still know that you're there, willing, ready to entertain, and hopefully, like you say, fingers crossed, we're heading the right way.
I mean, like exactly the same. I mean, but that's the thing. You know, when it all stops, and you know, entertainment was the first to go, and it'll be the last to come back. But you suddenly go, wow, 40. Don't have many qualifications. Kind of been doing this for my whole life. Kind of self-sustained. You're like, oh, you know, how can you retrain? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'd probably last like a day in the office and then be sacked for something.
You know, virtually, they talk about jobs being non-viable, virtually non-employable is the thing. Exactly. You know something, these skills, these positivity, we're all going to be back on stage soon, hopefully. And as long as there's an audience wanting it, and there is, that's the one thing I've learned during this period. Certainly, if you look at Australia, I've got some friends that are over doing the comedy festivals there, hungry audiences. A couple of things I've done on, certainly the stand-up shows I've done online, the garden gigs, the driving gigs. Folk are ready, folk will be ready, and I think it's going to be...
and that's like when we did the summer, when we got that 4 weeks at the summer, say it was like socially distanced. So we went from like 1,000, like the theatre holds 1,000. I think we were like at 300, and kind of for the act, you're like, you know, if you're kind of performing kind of death-defying acts, you're like, wow, just to 300 people, but that's hard. And also for comedy, so when we're writing it, you're like, you know, usually it's kind of panto-esque, so you're looking for that kind of interaction, but, you know, they're not allowed to shout out, they're not allowed to, like, scream, you know, you've just got to sit and kind of watch, and you're like, you didn't know how it was going to be, and how people were going to kind of interact, or would they want to interact, or would they just sit quiet, and would it be like they're just watching the TV? But exactly what you said, the kind of outpouring of 300 people, you're suddenly like, wow, this feels like it's full. Like this could be full. Like the way the applause and the kind of the energy in the room, and you're like, you know, people do really miss it. And I think when it comes back, I think there will be a real surgence of, like, you know, people will be going, right, come on, we'll go to everything, or we'll try and support the arts.
Yeah, it's going to be different for a whole new generation. It's as wild as to think that'll be. They'll be, hey, do you want to go and see a comedy gig live? What, like on the telly?
Yeah. I know. Yeah. You know, and you guys as well, like, so the like kind of virtually do you have, I guess, like the Zoom ones, the audience, you can't hear them, or they don't.
You can hear them. You can hear them. You get, like, I've done ones which have been with, I can't hear the audience, which is kind of, having done some radio, you kind of get a little used to, and you're doing something very different. But when the audience are there and you can hear them, it's like, they just that connection comes back that you only get from live performance.
Yeah.
Like, no disrespect, sorry, that's the dog going nuts. That you only get from live performance. There's no substitute for it in the world, and I would say that to anyone. As much as the technology is coming up to scratch and it's amazing, nothing will ever substitute for that. And I think people know that. Yeah. There's so much to cover with your career, Johnny. First of all, like I said just before we kicked off, a little bonus fact for you. Johnny actually went to youth theatre with my wife, who is literally sitting in that room next door to us. She's such a small world. Were you and Liam, actually? Yeah. We'll come back to that in a bit. So I've got to ask, how did everything kick off? Because everyone takes a different journey. My background was originally art and design, and then I literally ended up painting sets for people in set designing, and then I ended up making my way on stage, and then I started telling dirty jokes, and then we're off. And that's kind of how these things happen. And then you end up you say yes to everything. That's, if anyone was interested in creative arts, say yes to everything. It's really just have yourself the greatest time. But how did things kick off for you?
So with the youth theatre, it was youth theatre. I went to a summer school. My mum took me to, like, one of these kind of during the summer holidays. I'm originally from Kilmarnock, so right. down at the Grand's Hall, and it was like a week's youth theatre. They put a show on in a week, and then on the Saturday, the mums and dads come and see it. And so I ended up doing that, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then from that, they said, "Oh, do you want to come on a Saturday?" And I was like, "Oh, right, okay." And I remember Liam, who I do the Francie Josie Show with, best pal, best man at my wedding. But I remember the first time I saw him was on stage. He was like a local celebrity. He'd been on TV and did things. But I remember when I went to high school, you have like an introduction day where you come along and kind of get to look around the classes, etc. Anyway, sorry. So we arrived in the morning, and they were all taken into the hall and sat down, and then Liam come on and did like 20 minutes of stand-up, like doing gags and stuff, and I was like, man, who's that guy? That's fun. He's great, and and everybody loved it. So he was like in the youth theatre, and then so started going to the Palace Youth Theatre, and I still remember, like, the first show. It sounds like kind of nostalgic or whatever, but I do remember doing that show, and when the curtain went up and could hear the audience, and I was like, what a memory. And that's kind of where it started. I only had 2 lines in the show, but I was like, I think I want to do this.
Oh man, the two lines, but I'm getting these right.
Exactly. Yeah, so did that. So I was in youth theatre for years. And then from that, so I couldn't really get a Saturday job, because if I got a Saturday job, then I couldn't go to youth theatre. So me and Liam started doing discos. So we were
Right.
doing like the local primary school. So a good weekend would be a Friday night at Silverwood Primary. A Saturday, you would do hopefully a Saturday night, like a wedding or a party or something, and then on a Sunday you would do a kids party as well. I think you'd get like £5 a time.
Oh,
So yeah, so did discos, and kind of that was probably the first kind of introduction to kind of speaking on a mic or
yeah.
doing that, and then the youth theatre was for the kind of performance acting side.
Do you think that's something that? Do you think that? I mean, youth theatres are still prevalent in Scotland, but I don't know if it's a West Coast of Scotland thing. But I mean, I went to youth theatres. It seemed to be. It was like a journey, and it would be that people would really find their voice, their calling in life. Like I remember thinking, going to a youth theatre as a kid, going like, I know I don't want a 9-to-5 job. I know there's something else. No disrespect to my dad. He's like, he was a fencer and listen, I'm the third kid. He had no idea what to make of me by the time, typical West Coast of Scotland dad. He's like, I don't get this one. He likes wrestling. I don't even know what that is. He's no idea what's going on. But it was something about, it's where you met your friends. Like you said, you met Liam. Yeah. It's where you met friends and you got a taste for it. Do you think it's something that's kind of lacking a little bit now? There's still youth theatres, of course, but it used to be a real sort of introduction for like a next phase of your life, just being able to break out the walls. Do you think it's something that's missing now, or is it still something that we see a lot of in Scotland?
I think it's still something we see a lot. I mean, there's some really good UK theatre school and Centre Glasgow is massive. I was in just before the lockdown, and kind of the Scottish youth theatres, but yeah, I think Kilmarnock's still going. There's a great one over in Hamilton as well, and
that's right.
But you're 100% right. I always remember as a kid, kind of like living for a Saturday afternoon. Like that was your whole life, like revolved around, and it was a social thing. I mean, I think the youth theatre was maybe only on for the senior youth theatre was like 1 till 3, but Liam and I ended up like meeting at like 9:30 in the morning, helping out with the junior youth theatre, going for lunch, then doing the senior youth theatre, and then kind of like wandering about the town to like 6-7 o'clock at night, like, and that was like a full youth theatre day if we weren't doing a disco. But it was like, and my closest friends that were are from youth theatre days, and then when we went to Edinburgh Festival, we did the festival. Did a show at the festival, and then we got to, because the guy that ran Kilmarnock Youth Theatre also ran Hamilton Youth Theatre at the time, so then we got to meet, again, really close pals, still now, that kind of shaped my adult life of my friendship group of, met from Hamilton, and, kind of going all exotic, my mum would drive me from Kilmarnock over to Hamilton, it seemed like miles away, days away.
Yeah. Remember those days when...
those days.
I've got. Do I need to take a sleeping bag? Am I going to make it?
I know. Yeah. Well, I remember. One of the. I remember the husband and wife that ran the youth theatre at the time. We did again. There was the summer school, so we were helping out the junior youth theatre. We were helping out doing the senior youth theatre, and then we went we did the summer week. We were like kind of helping there, and then we went over to Hamilton for like 2 weeks, I think, because he had like a summer school over there, so like we were over there helping, and that was the thing. We're like, we were staying in his house and going to the thing, and it was
so much fun. So what?
Yeah, it was brilliant times.
And you got to go to Hamilton and see all those roundabouts. Very exciting.
Well, I know.
But when did the trip? Because there always comes a part, particularly in your young life, when you're getting interested in this, you're getting all excited, you're all full of piss and vinegar, you're loving it, you're getting a little taste of it. But then always comes that part, and there's nothing wrong with this. Some people will go into other facets of their life. Other people will chase those dreams, those passions. What was the next step for you? I mean, so you're doing the youth theatre, you're loving this, you're thinking, I want to do this. What's the next step for you? Where did you go in order to take your journey as a comedian, a performer, an actor? Where did you go next?
So I think from youth theatre, then ended up getting an agent. I think because Liam had done some kind of TV stuff,
right?
he was like, oh, you should get an agent. So I ended up getting an agent, and then ended up doing like loads of extra work. So I was like, yeah, I was in Take the High Roads.
Yes.
Raps and the Baldy Man, the oldie thing. Yeah, so I did that, and then my age, so I was 17, and then I went for an audition for a theatre and education company. So basically, a schools tour,
right,
and it was touring around Tayside and Dundee. And I was like 17. I'd just gone into 6th year at school. Anyway, went up and auditioned for these people, and they were like, "Oh, you're kind of really young. I'm not sure." And I was like, "Oh, I really want to do it. I really want to do it." So they offered me the job. So then, and my mum and dad were great. So basically, I left school in 6th year, didn't do my exams, and went and toured Dundee for 6 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. So then I went and did some TIE, which is a great kind of learning ground, really. So I did that for that was 17, and then I went down and worked at the new Centre Parks at Penrith,
right?
So almost like Redcoat style.
Yeah.
Again, kind of working on kind of doing kind of stand up, but also taking the activities during the day.
Yeah. And so you're building up all these skills. I mean, even in this short space of time, by the time you're like 18, 19 or what have you, you're getting all this live comedic experience, more than a lot of comedians have already. Like right now, guys that are on TV, you're building all this, like getting up in front of an audience. It's like, if anyone's ever watched, or if there's any young comics or performers, I've always asked, what's one of the biggest things? It's stage time. Get up there. Yeah. And you are pulling all these skills together, because particularly, like you say, Centre Parks, from doing the tour of the likes of, was it a kind of Eminem style thing when the guys were going around Dundee? Was it that type of thing? Like
I worked for, so I ended up working for Eminem Productions for like 10, 12 years. So this was a company from Huddersfield called Impact. Right. So I worked for there was Impact in Craggas, but I never worked for Craggas. But I did Impact. When I did there a couple of.
And it's fast moving. It's fast moving stuff. You're like constantly going all the way through to Centre Parks. So things are going well. People are seeing what happens. People start seeing you and they think we're going to try and take them, or is it in the world of self-employment or self-employed actors? Was it a case of you just had to keep on pushing as a performer to try and create? Because lots of people just sit and wait for the phone to ring, but a lot of us have to make sure we're getting ourselves out there. What was the trip to try and take it to that next level for you?
The next level was so I'd been and worked abroad. I'd worked for Thompson's and kind of done entertainment, and then you were working 6 days a week, but then on my day off I was going to like bars and doing like little kind of stand up or kind of bits, 20 minutes on the mic of to earn a little bit extra money, and then I came back and I was working for M&M Productions, TIE, touring round, and I was working in the office, and the people that owned that were lovely, but they also had friends that were out gigging in the working men's clubs, and so at that time I'd done kind of on the road touring, and then I was in the office like selling shows or directing shows, and but I was still kind of yearning to perform. So Christine and Arnie, who are good friends now, a kind of singing duo, are massive in the clubs in Scotland. They were like, well, why don't you come and do like a wee bit in between, like, our 2:45? So we'll go on and do a bit, then we'll get you on, and then we'll finish off. And I was like, yeah, fantastic. So then they took me around for about a year and a half of doing kind of 15, 20-minute spots. And some of the clubs were great and would see that 15 minutes and then book me for my own show. And then, so then I'd come off, like the first couple of months, come off and go, I've only got 15 minutes. What did I do? So like, it's all right. It's in 6 months' time. We'll help you. So I kind of built up doing my own show called Meet the Max. I do kind of kind of 20 minutes of me, and then do like kind of character stuff. So I started working in the clubs, And then I got a phone call. So I was in the office, M&M, and I got a phone call one day from a producer saying that they were looking for somebody to go and do a summer season. I think again it was like 16 weeks, so it was down, but it was doing the Haven circuit. So they were kind of, and they're kind of split into kind of weeks. So do like the West Coast. So you would do start on the Monday and finish on the Sunday in Wales, and then go to the East Coast and then start on the Monday and finish the Sunday. So you can basically do a kind of loop. So one-nighters basically.
Right.
And the people that were doing it was a comedy double act, but they'd already got another contract, but they didn't want to. They wanted to put someone in. So basically, I went and did that season for them, which kind of really kicked everything off. That kind of led from that kind of 15-week summer season. I did the Airgate summer season. That kind of Chroma and stuff like that. So
I saw that you had the Gaty Whirl, which is a legendary thing down here in Ayrshire. It's like some people have done the Hollywood Bowl, some people have done it. I remember going to Gaty Whirl. That's a big deal to me. That's a very big deal to me. But you're getting a baptism of fire during this period, like you say, and we've all done it. You know, you get booked to do 15 minutes, you've got 5, and you. I remember getting booked to do a gig in Orkney once with a whole bunch of other comedians, and one of them basically, you've got to do 30 minutes. It's like, I've got 8 at best. It's like, son, just go slow. Okay.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn these things. You're developing one-man shows. You're out there doing summer seasons. You've got all this. You're saying yes to everything, which is an amazing thing to hear to any performer. You just want to learn and taking it all in. Going back very quickly to developing the act on your own, what was your process in order to do that? Was it a case of because I mean, obviously there's different styles of comic and there's different styles of what they're doing. It's mostly family audiences you're performing to. Would that be right?
Yeah.
So what was your inspirations in terms of, I mean, I know you said you were working with the guys, but what was your taste in comedy around about that time? What was the things you were learning from to develop your own voice? What was the things you were into?
Well, I would always go. We'd kind of go trips to Blackpool and watch kind of the kind of end of the pier people, the Paul Zerdin, the Roy Walkers, the
Grumbleweeds,
Brian Conlon, Grumbleweeds, Cannon and Ball. The Grumbleweeds are awesome. In fact, the guy that I worked for in Yarmouth is a massive Grumbleweeds fan, and they used to own loads of theatres kind of in Great Yarmouth and Scarborough, and used to get the all the kind of stars of the 80s and 90s that would do the end of the kind of theatres. And he always said that as a kid he would sit and watch the Grumbleweeds show every time. He said, never think back to it, I cringe, because he used to go backstage and be like, you missed the whatever gag out.
Oh no!
And as a like 5-6-year-old, and they'd be like, oh yeah, right, oh yeah, we'll put it in tomorrow probably. And now he's like, now I look back, he'd probably like, shut up, kid. You even know the act off by heart, and he'd be like, well, you didn't say that, or you changed, you did that one, and then you did that one, and last night you did that one and that one. So, but so that kind of stuff's kind of family, and kind of going to pantomime as well. Like I really kind of grew up admiring the people that could make me laugh, and then make like my mum or my gran or uncles where everybody could laugh. So that I was trying to like throw the net as wide as possible for everyone to get it. And that so then that's what I was kind of trying to do when I was working for Thompson's or at Centre Parks, and that's kind of, I was trying to make it as broad as possible. So at least if some people didn't like me, the majority might.
Yeah.
So that was the thinking behind kind of doing that, and then I would just like pick kind of simple, but just pick subjects of I don't know, like going to the shops and then say, like, what gags do I know or can I make about going shopping, and then write it, and then what character would that suit, or what would I do? And kind of daft stuff as well, like for like my opening gag, I would come out with the dinner suit and shorts on, and then say to like at the clubs, oh yeah, I saw the notice and it said smart but casual, but which I do remember an agent saying to me, "Oh yeah, that's good, but you're still on stage for another hour and you're stood in shorts," and I think I was like, "Oh yeah." But
That's
to me,
the
I was like,
point.
"Well, that's a funny gag." But if they didn't get the first gag, then you're like, "Oh, it's going to be a long night." But yeah, so yeah,
But you learn as part of it as you go. I mean, it's like I
definitely.
say, you listen to, and I'm not saying that people don't do it now. They certainly should, but you listen to the other performers. Like I'm learning even now, as I'm sure you are. You learn every time you get on that stage. You learn every time you do another show. One of the big things is to listen to the guys that have been there before, and even though you might not necessarily take what they say word for word, you might go, well, you get the lesson, and that's why you've been so adaptable as a performer. Again, to it's the old story about like, don't worry about the people that aren't laughing, worry about the people that are laughing.
Yeah.
And so you're going for the majority audience, making these big places laugh. Get into panto, right? And I've got to talk about panto because I'm a huge fan of you in panto. I've done a bit of panto myself, but not quite on this.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I've never worked for Marty Pello. I can say that much. Because I remember seeing, what year was that? Was it Aladdin? It was Aladdin you did with Marty. Was that right?
Yeah.
Aladdin. Because I remember seeing the big, huge poster and being like, look at that. Actually, literally putting my hand right over Marty Pello's massive name to point to you. Look at that. Huge thing. Yeah, but you're getting on these reinventing the panto scene. It seemed like panto's always been such a warm thing in Scotland. The big school trips that would go along to see. I did it myself as a little kid, going to see them at the likes of the Magnum Leisure Centre, thinking about the people that were there, and starting to go through all the way through to Glasgow and what have you, and of course the likes of the Palace, the big ones. But it just seems to be in the last 10 years, and you've been very much at the heart of that, so it's amazing to see Pano's just gone to this completely different level. It's almost like it's been, we talk about the changes in family entertainment in the last like 20 years. Yeah. But ironically, Panto's really developed into family entertainment is kind of bad. People don't realize that family entertainment is still there in this form of Panto. How have you found it in your time? Because obviously you've gone all the way from the youth theatres right through. How have you found the sort of changes in Panto in that time?
Yeah, so I kind of love panto. My birthday is the 29th of December, so my kind of birthday treat every single year was always to go through to the pantomime. So I guess if you were being a kind of psychologist, I think that's maybe why I kind of got into it, because I remember like that kind of happy memory of just trying to recreate that kind of thing as a kid. So because the whole family would go, and again it would be a full day out, and I'd be like, oh, this is quite good. So then doing M&M of the kind of TIE. So if you can get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get in a van and drive 2 hours, set the set up, do the show, pack it down, get in the van, drive to the next place. A great kind of learning.
Definitely.
And also as well and kind of honing your skills as well. If you can kind of entertain just kind of like 300-400 kids in a gym hall and hold their attention. And I think the kind of evolution of pantomime kind of nowadays it's very strong, but I think it's because of the people that are in charge and the casting as well. Certainly kind of I've now worked for Kudos for kind of 4 or 5 years, but the kind of the story element and the production values and the casting, there doesn't have to be a stunt casting of, kind of, I guess in the 80s it was like, oh, we'll get a boxer in, or we'll get a somebody to play the genie of the ring, or that does still happen in certain places, but usually it's kind of people who know the craft and want to be there and want to do it to for the show. You know what I mean? They're not just trying to pick up a paycheck or etc. So I did 10 years at M&M, and then I did the Gaiety pantomime, but before that, then I did like 3 years in Ireland.
Oh wow!
So I did Belfast and Londonderry, Derry. So that was good.
What were those early roles? Were they as the panto comic?
Yes. Yeah. So it was like the muddles and the wishy washy, and I remember again. I think it was. I'm sure I might be I'm sure this is a story, but Liam was supposed to go to Ireland, but then he ended up getting a job. So then he was like, "Oh, he said, I've spoke to the guy, and he says that you're Scottish, and I know you, so you can go over." So I was like, "Oh, cool." So I turned up in Belfast, went into the Hilton, and the guys sat there, and there was like other actors there. But we kind of sat down, and then he just started like dishing the parts out. There was like no audition. It was just like, all right, so you can sing, all right, and you're handsome. You can be the prince. You can be the fairy. You can be this. You can be Muddles or what. I'm like, right, okay, like no script, no thing, and then went in a rehearsal. But so did that. That was good, and then came back and then worked for a kind of producer called Charles Vance down in Crewe. So I did 2 years down in Crewe, then came back to Scotland, did the Gaiety, and then went to Kings Edinburgh, which was great for kudos. That was for Paul Elliott, and then I did 5 years at the Pavilion in Glasgow, which was great, where I met my wife, and then kind of now at the Kings Glasgow. So they kind of, but they say that because Michael, I think if you care about the production and you want it to be the best, and that the strong story and good casting,
the audience as well can sense it. I think when you're having a good time on stage and you believe in what you're doing, I think you can, because we've all seen pantos that are maybe a little listless, or maybe they're not given, we're not pointing any fingers or anything, but we've all seen those pantos and you come away, like, you should never, an old friend of mine, sadly not with us anymore, always said the one thing: you should always come away from a panto going, that was a great time.
Yeah.
Like you should always just come away, regardless, even if it was, in a gym hall, even if it was a little local community one, you should always be coming away going, that was a good time. I love that. One of the things I appreciate, because I always get cast as the villain, always the funny villain, but never mind, I don't mind. You get to write your own jokes half the time when you're the villain, but the panto comic, it's when I was a kid, or when I'd seen pantos, I didn't appreciate that role, because you think, oh, that's just, all the lines are in it, and that's just another member of the cast. They're funny. I think they're great. But it is the whole show. I mean, like you said, there's a lot going on, and there's so many little cogs and intricate parts in a panto. Like, it is normally, in some cases, unless they're starting with a bad day, you are the narrator, you're the voice, you're that immediate connection between the audience and the story.
Yeah, the great thing is, that's why I think, is you can kind of break that fourth wall. Prince and princess they kind of carry the story, but it's almost our kind of job to take the audience by the hand, and like that's where you can kind of deviate from the script. Maybe if something goes wrong, you can kind of talk to them as your pal, and kind of like sometimes ham it up, sometimes play it serious. You've always got, you can always kind of look out, whereas other kind of members of the cast aren't afforded that kind of luxury. But that's again, like you say, kind of grown up. Remember going to watch the pantomime and thinking these people were absolutely fantastic, and that you kind of loving that. And that's the good thing. Like, now I can share that with Elaine, because we can both talk to the audience and have that kind of comedy double act, doing routines, and kind of taking the audience by the hand and guiding them through the story.
How I've got to ask this, because I know you met your wife during the Pavilion. How was it during panto? Is that right? That is right, isn't it?
Yes.
How do you chat someone up during the course of a panto? I only ask this because it's always so frantic and so much running about. How did you pull that one off, Johnny?
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't, because I'm absolutely horrendous. Well, I always say that because it was we didn't get together during the pantomime, but I was Peter Pan and she was a Lost Boy. Worked that one out, but
there's a lot to unpack there.
The mad thing was that she had to help me. There was like I get put in, typical panel. I get shot out of a cannon, but I get put into a cannon, and I had to run around, and I had to change my like top, and she had to like stand at the side and like hand me the jacket so I could put it on and go on. But I didn't actually. We kind of like chatted and got on, but it was never like a kind of flirty thing. And then when the pantomime, when we finished, then in January, then we were still like socialising as a cast because we got on really well. And I think it was kind of mid-February. And I kind of ashamed to admit it, but I was like to my pal had to be like, you know that he likes you. And I was like, kind of like stood away, like going, like talking to somebody else, pretending I wasn't like listening. But anyway, so I wish I could tell you that I've absolutely like smoothed they kind of chatted it up with some hilarious lines. But you know, when it actually matters, I wasn't there. Tell you, Julie, but don't ask me to confess my feelings.
But it's a real story. It's how it actually kind of happens, to be honest. Will you nip my pal? The old equivalent. What fancies you? Where you going? Oh God, that's. I got to admit the story with this lady on the other side of this wall. Don't need to tell you, it doesn't pay me in a good light at all.
Oh come on, it's only us two. You can tell me.
Exactly. But you've got to work with some huge names. First of all, we've got to talk about that. And one of the things you always find in panto is there's no airs and graces, particularly people that you're in the middle of panto, you're on top of each other. Whenever you're in any production, you're kind of on top of each other. You're in each other's pockets. Sometimes, as we've said, you'll see these people more than you'll see your family. So they become family. You've worked with Marty Pello, I believe. I know you work closely with Elaine, of course, at the Kings.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Fingers crossed you guys are going to be back again this year. It's things go the right way. We're going to be seeing you guys back on stage together. That's awesome. How have those times been coming back to Scotland? Being in, I'm not saying this to annoy anybody, being in the hottest ticket in town when it comes to panto. No disrespect for the guys that are doing the big ones up at the Hydro. Somebody really good. I love paying 60 quid to see somebody that size. I think it's great. But what's it like being in that hottest ticket in town? Because you do have people that come back each and every year, and it's always so weird with audiences. We were talking about it earlier. You will have the people go, well, you did that joke last year. I saw you do a joke like that this year. Or then you get the people that turn up and go, you didn't do that bit. It's like, well, I wouldn't do that because I did that last time you were here. Yeah, exactly. I brought people expecting you to do that bit. It's a different show. You can't win. How has it been doing that show? Because that looks like that is just an absolute blast, doing the panto in the centre of Glasgow during the most hyperactive, exciting period in the calendar.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like a kind of West Coast audience, kind of Glasgow audience, even on a Tuesday. It's like it's like a Saturday night. But I love it. It is certainly, it's no word of a lie. It is all I've wanted to do. I've grown up watching pantomime, and I am really passionate about the show, about the story, and about kind of giving people, it's hard work, but they're only going to see it once a year. We might be doing 60 shows, but and if they save up the money and come and they expect a good show, so you want it to be the best it can be. So, and I've been very lucky to work with some fantastic people, and it's great working with Elaine because she shares that same passion of making it every show, not just a Friday or a Saturday night, a kind of Tuesday or Wednesday matinee. These people have paid the money, so let's give them the show they deserve. And that kind of, and if it comes from the top, kind of, and filters down, then everybody's on the same page. It's when you hear stories. I mean, I've been kind of lucky, touch wood, that every show that I've been in, that's kind of happened. But you hear these kind of horror stories of kind of like the star turn doesn't really want to do it on a Tuesday afternoon, but they'll turn up on a Friday and a Saturday, and you kind of feel sorry for if that's kind of their experience, and the kids might not know that they're phoning it in, but they'll know something's not quite right.
Yep, you can tell. Yeah, you can totally tell.
But and that's the thing, that the great thing about Kudos is the way that pantomime has evolved, and how they've changed pantomime is, it's basically like a West End musical. With the when you've got, you're kind of only a small kind of cog in that machine, really. But when you've got that, you know, the kind of production values, the sets, the costumes, the kind of choreography, the special effects that they use, you know, like flying in a car over the audience, or a magic carpet that turns to a 360, you know, and you know, you're like, what? This is, you know, it's just this kind of mind blown. And the great thing is that you watch kind of the mums or dads that have kind of paid the money to watch, and then you as you come out on the magic carpet and it turns over and you see the guy sat there like,
exactly.
how does that work? you know, so there's something for everyone in there. But yeah, Elaine's fantastic to work with. I think that I love the relationship that we've kind of built up over the past few years, and we're definitely on the same page of talking.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't just happen on the kind of the second week in November, like, oh, what should we do? You know, those kind of meetings, and many people behind us. You know, Michael Harrison, who's in charge. There's many meetings that go on, or emails, phone calls, or you're going to this routine of work. We've had this routine at the London Palladium, so this would be a good one. Do this, you know. So they really care about what they do. And
yeah, because they're right up and down the country, kiddos, aren't they? I mean, they're the Premier Leaguers of panto. I mean, they're up and down.
35 they've got round and about, but and that, you know, it's a great kind of pool to be in, because for exactly that, you know, you know, if you write 2 of the routines, that you get 3 other ones as well of that's been in different theatres that will go, this is a good one, or this is how, you know, do this routine this year, and then we can do that one, you know, and it kind of moves around. And then kudos are also with Twins FX, so they're the guys that have the flying carpets and the flying carpet, and the kind of, I think the one at the SECC was we had the giant gorilla, which was like took up the full size of the full size of the stage. And, so yeah,
I always wonder who is the guy that came up with the first, who comes up with the idea first. It's like, we're going to make a giant gorilla.
Yeah, I know.
And who's his mate that then backs him up and goes, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Because you and I go running into a room going, let's get a giant gorilla. Shut up.
I know. Billy, come on.
Yeah. Oh, just an idea, guys. Just an idea.
Yeah, it'll work somewhere, I'm sure. No, I know, but the crazy thing is, actually, you know, that takes about 10 guys to operate, for it to work. But then, and when you watch it from the front, you're like, that gorilla's alive, and you know, how is that? How do you? It's yeah.
And is it amazing for you as like as a performer? Because the thing is, when you're a comedian, initially you do kind of you're solo, you're on your own, but you've got all this acting experience. So the collaborative process, which I know you use with the pantos, of course, but then of course there's the shows down south, the Hippodrome, which are huge shows. You help put those together. Fingers crossed, we're going to see more of those this year. What have you got coming up? Because, and like I say, there might be people here in Scotland that just know you from the pantos, or what you've done, but the shows down there, they're very different. They're almost like, I don't want to say they're the Greatest Showman before the Greatest Showman, but they are it's a reinvention again of that huge live cabaret entertainment show that people will say things like, oh, well, you know, that's old fashioned. But again, they're reinvented. You use a phrase like reinvented and rebooted, and I hate saying that, but it's a continuation of those sagas. What are those shows like?
Fantastic to work on. I was a fan before I got in the show. My friends used to do the summer season, and I used to go down and watch them, and kind of then ended up being in the show. The theatre itself is steeped in history, and run by the J family, Peter J, who they used to do the Blackpool circus and the Superdome, kind of massive in show business, kind of worked with all the great people, and they run the Hippodrome, which is a site. I mean, the star of the show is the building, the theatre. It's in the round, so the circus ring in the middle, and then 1,000 seats round about. And it's the summer show is circus and water spectacular. So the ring drops into a swimming pool, which is amazing. I mean, to see it every day and kind of the reaction that it gets, and it's still the original mechanics of over 100 years of kind of how it works, and the boys the boys coming out, and it's all on pins, and then it's pulled and it drops down. Yeah, it's great. But the shows are something to behold. It was kind of The Greatest Showman before The Greatest Showman. You're absolutely right. It's a mix of circus and kind of popular culture, and I've been lucky enough. I think this is my 11th year that I've been working there.
Brilliant.
And the family again just want it to be the best it can be, so they'll have acts when we're allowed from all over the world. So for 10 years, I've been meeting kind of Brazilian, Argentinian, Spanish, Russian, Polish that come over and have these like sensational acts. It's not just people are risking their lives to entertain and manage to do it. I mean, the summer season will run, I think, when we did the last full one, it was like 120 shows, and they're doing that 120 times, and they come out, so it's great. So then in between, you've got this guy just yes, he risked his life. I'm now going to tell you a joke because I don't want to.
It's the best gig. It's the best gig.
Well, I know, and you get the applause, and you're like, wow, he just risked his life, and I just told you.
Thanks very much.
But
I love doing cabaret shows. I love doing cabaret shows when you come on after someone that's just hung around in flames. You go, hello.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody just dropped 30 foot and stopped like that off the floor, and then you're like, hey guys, I'm enjoying myself. But yeah, so the shows are really good. The tech behind it as well. So I think I did about 6 or 7 just summer shows, and then we started talking about doing something for the Easter holidays. So we did a pirate show, so we've got a full-size pirate galleon, and that's much more pantomime, much more story-driven. And then the summer show is in the round, so that's the 1,000 seats, and is kind of more just kind of Britain's Got Talent. And I would say at least 2 or 3 of the acts every year have been on Britain's Got Talent. So and the guys come down and scout out and go, oh, we'd like them to come on. So that's the kind of
have they ever mentioned to you about doing Britain's Got Talent? You ever had the Britain's Got Talent business card?
My talent, so when I find it, I say it's all right in. But
I got it once backstage at the stand in Glasgow, and they went, "Here you go," and I was like, "Oh, absolutely not!" Like, absolutely not. Did you guys see what I did? Yeah, I'm gonna get 5 X's, and there's only 4, so I'm out of this. No,
yeah. So, so it's really they're kind of a really good, and you've got to definitely come down and bring the family. We'll look after you. It's a great. It's kind of such a special place and what they create, and that again, what kind of on I keep talking about Tuesday. I don't know why, but like a Tuesday afternoon, you get this like Saturday night show. Techniques, water, kind of. It's just it's non-stop. It's like a train, and that's the thing. Every year you have to keep raising the bar. So but it's a great thing for for the kind of pantomime and the summer help, because if you've been kind of gigging for 15 weeks in the summer, you've got that for panto. So and then the same, you finish the panto, and then you can go into that with different ideas for the summer. So I just want it all to come back.
Yeah, yes. Well, I could see it in your eyes. I was about to say, even when you were talking about raising the bar, and it's why we do it, and it's why I would say to anyone that, particularly during this period, or even out of this period, if you're thinking you're working hard and you're getting frustrated, trust me, you will meet people that are as passionate and excited about doing it as you.
Yes,
it's worth slogging through to get there, to get to those people, because it's thoroughly worth it. Johnny, I could do like another hour talking to you. There's so much, but I'm aware of time. I've got some quick fires here for you. Quick fires. One thing I have to ask, and I know it's a passion project to yours as well, but we've got to talk very quickly about the Francie and Josie Show. You guys brought it back in a way that is scary, because it is because what I loved about it was with the love it's done. Because you guys aren't turning around going, this is the new Francie and Josie. This is a tribute to Rikki Fulton and Jack Milroy. You know, it's a real kiss in the cheek to those guys and bringing it to a whole new generation. Yeah. Is this a passion project to use? Because you can feel it every time you see you guys. You and Liam especially, who's a fantastic performer. You guys just work so amazingly well together. Yeah. And I love Liam to bits. I've only met him twice and I think he's amazing. But you guys work so together. What's that show like to recreate? Are these two icons of yours?
Yeah, so I'll keep it brief. But yeah, the Francie and Josie is a kind of passion project. So we both separately grew up. My gran lived with us for most of my life, so and we used to sit the house was set up. She had her own little kind of room and bathroom, TV room, so we'd sit in there and have a dinner with my gran, and we'd watch Francie and Josie. So, and then my mum and me and my sister could recite the routines, and this kind of made my gran loved it, so she would end up go switch that off, do their Broth gag, so then we'd do the stuff. So and then my mum took us to see them live, one of the last ones live at the Kings.
Wow.
I remember, yeah, which was great. So I kind of remember that, and then meeting Liam and being pals, and then talking about Francie and Josie, and then when I said that we went to the Edinburgh Festival with the youth theatre, I remember it was £250 per person to go over. You had to pay that. And Liam and I, we didn't have that money. So we were like, oh, maybe we could put on a show. Maybe we could do a show and then charge people money. And then that could pay for us to go. So we then created a double act called Me and Him. And it was a kind of two-hour variety show. And within that, we did half an hour of Francie and Josie. So we wrote to Rikki Fulton and Jack Mulroy at the time and said, oh, we're part of the youth theatre. We'd love to do a Francie and Josie. Would that be at all possible? Because we also had a contact from Popplewell's in Ayr, which was the costume hire shop at the Gaiety. And there was the original Francie and Josie suits that were there, so we could get them, and if we got permission, then we could do the thing. So, and then Rikki and Jack both wrote back. Rikki wrote back and said, "Yeah, yes, you can do it as long as you stick to the original script and don't deviate word for word, etc." So we did that, and I think that was like 96 or 97, and then we got it recorded on VHS tape and sent it to them. And then I mean, we sent it to them and said, oh, this is what we've done. And then they wrote back and said, yeah, the quality, you can't really hear the sound quality, but it looks fantastic, keep it up, etc. And then we did it again, I think maybe like 2 years later, again wrote to them and had the permission and things. So then fast forward, Liam has been doing his own show at the Palace for the past 10 years. I think January time he usually does it. That's right. And I think maybe it was the 10th one. Or yeah,
I think he did have an anniversary, because I did the Palace not that long after his last one.
Right.
And I get the feeling it was an anniversary, or was it meant to be the 10th this year? I think it was the 10th a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Anyway. So it must have been the 5th, or it was like a few years ago. But I remember kind of chatting over a few bottles of wine and going, oh, it would be funny if we did like the Francie and Josie thing as like a kind of nod to what we used to do, like just come on, and I was like, oh yeah, and let's not tell our mums or dads, and we'll just come on and do it, because they would absolutely love it, because my mum's always been like, you should be doing that, you should do that as a show. And yeah. So we did it for his show, and we invited Jack's wife along, Mary Lee, because we've had a few connections through the Gaiety and various other places. So she came and watched it. We did it. It was a great success. She came back and she was like, "This should be a show. You should tour this." So then we're like, well, if she's seen it, maybe we should kind of try and do that. So
yeah.
And then so we did, I think, 6 or 7 theatres, and it kind of sold out and did well. And yeah, we've kept bringing it back, because it really is. I mean, it's an absolute privilege to stand on stage and do those routines, and I call it the bomb proof, because the audience already know what's coming. It's karaoke, they're like saying the kind of the words along with you at points, or round of applause. I mean, I now do I Am Jolly, and the chair gets a round of applause when the lights come up, which is just like hairs in the back of your neck stand up. Like you're like, wow, this is it's fantastic.
And they're timeless as well, I think.
We've done like a few kind of different versions of it. The one that we did just before lockdown was kind of my favourite. We kind of we brought in a director, Andrew Agnew, who's fantastic. PC Plum for Balmoral.
Oh, I knew the name. There we go.
Sorry, Andrew. But Andrew, we've kind of worked on a few different projects. Both of us with him together. So, and he came in and he was singing in the show, and we had the St Andrew Sisters as an act, but we kind of like made it more kind of play-esque as opposed to just stand front and do the routine. So. So that worked really well, and but just doing the Arbroath gag or remember the jokes and the I Am Jolly as well. Just it's a privilege to do that, and it's really like you say to keep the memory of them alive, and also to bring it to a new audience. We because of the pantomime or kind of other stuff that we've done. The kind of if people that come and see it or that have seen in pantomime, we have a couple of times where at the beginning where they're like, they're really good. I didn't know who they were until you did it, and then I was like, "What? You need to go and find Francie and Josie and go and watch how these guys did it. It's it's amazing." But yes, so we're really enjoying it. So we're supposed to do the Pavilion, which has been postponed, I think, 2 or 3 times now, but hopefully it's in for October.
Hang on, I might have a wee. Let me double check. Boom. There we go.
Meh.
Look at that. There we go. I think that one's not this year, but it's going to be said. You got to check out, because I was going to say, you say like there's so many. You weren't a comedy fan in Scotland unless you had the green and white Scotch and Rye tape and the Francie and Josie VHS. Everybody knows. There's a generation of folk that know exactly what those 2 tapes were.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. Well, Scotch and Rye for Hugmanay, and Francie and Josie. Yeah, the farewell at Glasgow Kings. I don't know how many tapes I burnt out of that with my gran, but
definitely. Right, a couple of quick fire ones. First of all, one for me. What does Marty Pillow smell like? Does he smell nice?
Yes. Yeah.
I could tell by the poster.
Of course he does. Yeah.
I just had the feeling. By the way,
he's such a lovely guy as well. I remember he was like, we were working over the panel in New Year. He was like, "Would you have for on the 1st of January?" I was like, don't know, like Chinese takeaway. He's like, need to have steak pie. He's like, I know the best steak pie. So then, like, on Hugmanay came back, he's like, wow, massive steak pie. He knew a guy in Dunblane that's got the best steak pie, and it was fantastic steak pie. So thanks. Oh, wow. He's like, there you go, mate. Have that. Sorry.
Now I want a steak pie.
He doesn't smell a steak pie, by the way, but yeah, he does deliver steak pie.
Oh, there you go. Listen, Marty, if you're watching, get Marty Pillow steak pies in production, mate. It's
so good they put his name to it.
Well, there you go. But one of the other big things, a couple of quick things. You come from the generation of people that have gone right up through the youth theatre and made it all the way to these big platforms. You're as passionate about it now as you were from that young kid that turned around and went, I fancy doing this. What would be the advice you would give to anyone? Age is not really enough. Age is just but a number. But what advice would you give to anyone that is looking to get into either the creative arts or again to look into entertainment or even comedy? What would be the advice you'd give to anyone that is maybe looking to take that journey?
Just follow your passion if that's what you want to do. And like what we touched on throughout this interview is just keep like stage time. If you can get any stage time, and do any gigs that you can. And listen to the people that have gone before you, and take on the advice. Some of it people will try and put you off, but the good people will try and build you up and kind of push you forward. Yeah, like you said, Billy, just you need to say yes to everything. You know, if you're slightly out with your comfort zone, it's probably doing you good, and you can probably learn. You know, there's been a couple of horrendous gigs that I've had, but I did learn from them, and then it makes the good ones all that sweeter.
It also gets to the point that you see when you're in the middle of the good ones, and I don't mean this any pun intended, you actually find yourself enjoying yourself. It's like,
exactly. And that's where the catchphrase came from, because I used to prop it up with a couple of dodgy gags, and then I'd be like, I'm enjoying myself. And then they would be like, oh, you didn't say that one. Or I'm enjoying, oh, that's quite funny. So that's where that came from as well. But yeah, just follow your passion. Don't get put off. Don't let people put you off. If you want to do it, go for it. Just go for it.
Well, you've also answered my last question, because I always wondered the origins of the catchphrase. I'm enjoying myself, because people turn up to your shows with it on t-shirts. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a tattoo out there somewhere. Pretty sure. Has anyone came up with a tattoo yet?
Not yet.
I've still got some room left. Johnny.
That would make my day. But I did it. That was from gigging. I'm doing like some cruise ship stuff, and when you have to do like 2:45. So, and kind of what you said when I started out, when I was doing the Thompson circuit, it was like a tight 50. But then when you went to do the ships, it was like 2:45. So I was like, well, I've got a tight 50, but I don't have the rest. So then I was like, so you start putting gags in that would kind of just get you through, and then I'm enjoying myself. And then it started to kind of catch on, and then it was actually the Pavilion Panto. We did the Wizard of Oz, and I was playing the Tin Man, and again in for a meeting, me and Gordon, and saying, right, so what gags do you want to put in? What are you going to do? And then literally near the end of the meeting, I was like, oh, and I've been working on this thing, like doing a little catchphrase saying I'm enjoying myself, and it was like, right, okay. So then fast forward 6 months when the script came out, and there was like loads of I'm enjoying myself, and I was like, oh, okay. And literally from the first show, so through I maybe said that like every time I came on stage, and then at the end when you like step forward and you say, oh, thanks very much and come again, and we're doing this next year, and then I just step forward and go, I've enjoyed myself, and the place went,
hey.
And I was like, wow, this is so so that's what I'm enjoying myself came from, and I love it.
There's not a lot of people that have a powerful catchphrase in this day and age as well. So
exactly.
You're a pioneer. I wonder how many awful I'm enjoying myself rip-off catchphrases there are out there. Guys that have seen you and they're like, I'm gonna get it. Fuck, this is cracking. Get off!
I know. No, it's when they get it wrong, when they come up to you and you go, hey, are you having a good time? Yeah.
You're there with a t-shirt on. I'm enjoying myself. Yeah.
The vuvuzela, the party popper, and the t-shirt, the hat, the thing. But yeah, no, it's and when I work down south as well, when I get the parents send videos of the kid, and kind of the English ones doing a Scottish accent of it. It's great. I love it.
So we know hopefully you're going to be back in Panto at the Kings at the end of this year, but it's a constantly changing things. I know from when we're recording this in about an hour's time, we're hopefully hearing what's going to be going on here in Scotland, but we obviously want everyone to be safe. We know the amount of work that clubs, theatres, venues are putting into making sure they are safe and they are ready for when we can start letting audiences in, even if it's in the small numbers up into the big numbers. But hopefully we're going to be there sooner rather than later. What's coming up for you, Johnny? What have we got coming up?
So at this moment in time, there's lots of things on hold, but I'm hoping for the pirate show, I'm actually quarantining at the moment to go down to Yarmouth, and we're going to film a pirate show which will be available to stream. So I'm going to be doing that in 3 weeks' time, and then hopefully the summer, as kind of Boris has kind of laid out, hopefully by the 21st of June we'll have some kind of theatres and shows open and everybody back together. So that would be summertime. I know. I can't. I know.
Like even the idea of it every now and then. I mean, it's even. I mean, I think I've got 2 gigs in the diary, in the diary. But even the idea of it makes my heart flutter, and it's like,
I know.
Oh my! Just imagine.
It's mad. Actually, watching. We were watching Hamilton on the Disney Plus, and also as well when you see whatever these kind of the shows that are shot live, and you just hear that audience reaction, you kind of get like emotional, going like remembering, going, please, you just want it to come back. And I knew I missed it, but I've missed it so much. But
well, I got to do a gig at the weekend, the Comedy Cellar, the immersive gig, and I didn't realize how much I missed it. I nearly started bawling when I came off, even though it wasn't the same. It was a taste. It was like an addict getting that little taste, and it was like, oh my, I am ready. I am still in love with this. Still in love with this.
Well, the thing is, we're talking about the pantomime, so it was supposed to be Cinderella, and then it got put off. Now, as my wife will testify, in my family, that my favourite pantomime is Cinderella, and to play buttons at the Kings in Glasgow has been an absolute topper of a dream. That would be the one. And so when it didn't happen, I was like, oh, you're joking. Somebody upstairs does not like me. Somebody upstairs is me. This is not happening. So when it comes back, and when I talk to Elaine, when we talk about it, or routines that we could happen, I'm like, I think I'll just cry when I walk on stage. I think if I'm dressed in that buttons outfit and it's a packed Kings, I'll be like, I like the show run at like 3 hours. There'll only be like 2 hours of story and an hour of me trying to hold it together. You know what I mean?
I'm glad we both said that, because I've literally thought this. I've had the same worry.
Good. What if that's good, man? Yeah, honestly, I like. Yeah, it does. It's like to think of a full theatre or that reaction of.
It might just hit me. It might just. I'm so sorry. You got people that waited for the night out for 2 years.
Exactly. I didn't even pay for this.
Is this his boy's act now? He just comes out and cries.
It's very new age.
So, yeah, something different, son. I'll give you that. Somebody throw a pie. I don't know why every audience member is always my dad. Right, Johnny, it's been such a delight talking to you. I hope we do it again very soon. And you know something? I hope we get to do it in the real world. Digital world is all very great, but so excited to hear you're going to be doing something. You're going to be down doing the pirate stuff down at the Hippodrome. I saw a little video this morning. It was a picture of them inside the building, so it was like, oh, something's happening. So it's good to hear that. So what I'll do is I'll just pop you in the green room, and I'll finish up, and then we'll get to say our goodbyes. Everyone, our amazing guest. What a journey. Let's hear for the wonderful Mr. Johnny Mack. Thank you very much. Right, well, listen, that's all we've got time for on Braw Cast. We bring you the most interesting. Every time we do these, it's always a different journey from a different place by a different type of individual. That was awesome. Thank you once again to Johnny Mack. You can check out everything he's doing. Don't forget to get in touch with him. Of course, if you're interested to hear what he's up to, you can check him out at johnnymack.com. And of course, he is on all the social medias as well. Make sure to check out everything that's going on with that pirate show, which sounds amazing. And of course, later on this year, hopefully he'll be doing some show in the summer. And of course, that panto. That's all we got time for on Braw Cast. We are going to be back with an amazing guest as well next week. You're not going to be quite ready for who it was next week, but we'll let you know. You can make sure to check out everything that's going on at Broadway Royals. And of course, you can check me out at billykirkwoodcomedy.com as well. That's all we got time for. Buy some gear, buy some merch, stay safe, and we'll see you on the other side. Now it's the point of the show, because it's just me. There's no technician here or anything. It's just me. Am I going to be able to start the finishing video without looking at the screen? We play this game each and every time. Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I see the cursor at the corner of my eye? Can I do it? God! Yeah!